This is Faisal Khan for Lights Out, proudly sponsored by Spartans Law. We're here in Bournemouth ahead of Saturday night's huge fight night at the Vitality Stadium, the WBO Cruiserweight World title, a title that you used to hold once upon a time, Johnny. Lawrence Okolie defends against Bournemouth's very own Billam-Smith. Johnny, you've been in boxing for a very, very long time now. You've been a part of big shows over the past, but the key thing I've got to say about this show has to be is the fact that both fighters know each other so well, because obviously they're former stablemates. Shane McGuigan's previously trained Lawrence Okolie. Do you think that gives Billam-Smith a slight advantage going into Saturday night?
You'd expect it to. And Chris obviously boxing at home. He's a chance to be a superstar down here in Bournemouth. He left promotional companies for this reason, to box here at home. The last time he boxed against Isaac Chamberlain here, it was great atmosphere, great build-up, excellent weather, perfect timing. Everything fell in place. Now he gets a chance to it's like Roy of the Rovers, he's got a chance to fight for a world title at home. So if there was ever going to be a time where he was going to put in a career best performance, it has to be Saturday night. It has to be Saturday night. Yes, familiarity breeds content. And Lawrence knows Chris. Lawrence knows what he's capable of doing. But I've told everybody, you keep looking at the likes of George Groves and James De Gale, and these two knew each other as amateurs. I think George beat James in the amateurs, and James thought he got robbed. He's always had his number in the gym, turned professional, and James has always thought, I've got his number, I know what he's like, I know what he's about. Fighting and sparring are two completely different things, because when they box again, George beat him again. So now Lawrence has the confidence to say, I've got this guy's number, there's nothing he can bring to me. Fighting and sparring are different. The thing is, Chris gets hit and he gets hit easy. Lawrence can hit. Lawrence's style is very unorthodox, it's very hard to get a hold on. These guys have sparred at least 300 rounds together, so if there's anybody that knows how to work Lawrence out, it's Chris, and of course Shane McGuigan. Shane McGuigan, Lawrence was smart enough to say, you know, it's not just about beating Chris because I like Chris. I want to beat Shane. The student wants to beat the master. And Shane, I've heard one or two reports where he's talking about the mental side of it for Lawrence. Lawrence boils himself down to get to cruiserweight because he's not got the confidence to stay up at heavyweight. So that's not telling us anything about anything else. He's still boxed at cruiserweight. He's a world champion at cruiserweight, and he can make cruiserweight, and he has a punch power at it. So it tells me Shane's grasping at straws to try and get into Lawrence's head to rattle that confidence, that self-belief. Because there's nothing else. He couldn't comment on the sparring. He couldn't comment on anything else that's happening in the gym. So as long as Lawrence is mature enough and matured enough to ignore Shane's attempt to get in his head, I think it's no revenge. It's repeat. It's repeat of what's happening in the 300 rounds these guys have sparred together. So Chris has got to bring something to the table. Chris has got to make sure he doesn't get hit too hard, too easy by Lawrence. He's got to drag him into his kind of fight, and that's the way. Give Lawrence space. Lawrence does him in, so he's got to be smart.
One of the, as I mentioned, Shane knows Lawrence very well. Obviously, they've worked together in the past. And going back on the performance against David Light, it wasn't a convincing performance, but he got the job done in Manchester in his last fight. Do you think Shane McGuigan's going to expect Lawrence Okolie to come out with the same style, or do you think Lawrence and Sugar Hill will bring something different on Saturday night?
No, because Lawrence is comfortable with Chris. He's comfortable with what's around him. He knows what he can do, what round he can do it in. He knows when he can step it up. He knows when to step off. He knows the pace. He knows the strengths and weaknesses of Chris. So it's a completely different fight. And Chris knows what he shouldn't do with Lawrence and what he can get away with Lawrence. This will be a completely different fight. It may not be pleasing on the eye. Lawrence isn't pleasing on the eye. He's a very unorthodox fighter. And business-wise, it's better business that Chris wins. Lawrence is in the who needs him club, and you need him at the moment because he has a title. When he hasn't got a title, they'll avoid him like the plague because he'll either beat you and you'll look bad, or you just look bad. So of course it'd be business-wise, it'd suit that Chris won, because we're in Bournemouth, man. We're filling out a stadium. And Lawrence knows that. So Lawrence has got a lot more to fight for than what you realise. There's a lot more on the line for Lawrence than what you think.
Okay, let's just talk about a few matters and a few topics in boxing. Obviously, we'll start off with what went down at the weekend between Devin Haney and Vasyl Lomachenko. Great fight, again, seeing two good fighters, the best fighting the best, but a lot of controversy surrounding the decision. Johnny, have you had a chance to watch the fight, and what did you make of the overall unanimous decision that went in favour of Devin Haney?
I think the decision was bullshit. I think, and before the fight I said Haney wins. He didn't win the fight. In my book, he didn't win the fight. And to me, what is it? Incompetence? Is it skullduggery? You don't know. But I don't get how people are going with that wave saying, yeah, Haney win it. No, man, he didn't win it. Watch the fight. Just watch it round by round. Come on, be fair, be right. And I'll say, I remember, I thought Haney'd win. So it'd be very easy for me to say, yeah, he won that. He didn't win.
Johnny, I've got to ask you. Obviously, your boxing IQ is up there because you've been involved in the sport since a young kid. Just sort of, translate to us. How does a fight actually win a round? Is it the man who lands the more punches, or who lands the more devastating punches?
It's very simple. Hit and not be hit. If I hit you more than you hit me, I've won. That's all you got to do. So everybody that's watching this, go back and watch the fight round by round. Get a pen, get a paper. Tick, 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 tick. That's all you got to do. Don't fool it up. Don't overcomplicate it. Just sit down yourself and tick it. And then say, and be right with it, man.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example now, Johnny. You're a judge, right? Let's say Tyson Fury's fighting Anthony Joshua, and Anthony Joshua's completely obliterated him for 2 minutes of the round, and then the last minute of the round, Fury's landed left, right, centre. He's completely hurt him. Who do you still score that round to? Because a lot of people are still confused on how scoring a round actually works.
The scoring is power punches and the amount of times you hit your opponent. So after 2 minutes of the round, Anthony Joshua's had the top side of Tyson Fury. In the last minute, Tyson Fury's had the top side of Anthony Joshua. The 2 minutes, the one that's done exactly the same for 2 minutes, twice as long, is Anthony Joshua. So you can have close rounds that are really competitive rounds, but it's simple. If I hit you more than you hit me, if I get more power shots than more than you get, your power shots don't delete all the shots I've got on you. It's simple. We're overcomplicating it, and if I twist you up and fool you with science, and then you think, oh yeah, maybe I'm wrong. Just believe. They're saying, do you believe me or your lying eyes? Watch the fight. Tick it down. Simple.
Okay, obviously, listen, it's a huge weekend for boxing because you've got 3 platforms putting on 3 world title fights, but obviously the biggest negativity in that has to be they all fall on the same night. Johnny, not as a pundit or a guy that's a former world champion, but as a fan, is this a time where we need to be working together rather than working at the same time? Because there is 3 huge shows to look forward to this week.
We'd love that, but I've got to go, brother. I got to go.
We'll pick this up.
I'll be back.